We pay homage to the lineage gurus, homage to the Venerable Mang Liaoming, homage to Master Sakya Zhengkong, homage to the 16 Karmapa, and homage to Master Tubten Traji, and homage to the main deity of Homa today, Vairocana Buddha, the great son Tathagata, and homage to the three jewels of the altar. Sumu, all Dharma masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma instructors, Dharma assistants, heads of the temples and chapters, and all disciples present here and over the internet. From CTI TV Taiwan, producers for Kenny Sinton, Dharma Sister Rebecca Shiachi, and the Datuk Kenneth Loy and family from Hong Kong, and the representative to the council person from Taipei City, Miss Chue Hui Ling, and Dr. Ryan Zhuang, and from the Voices of Heaven Choir Group, Miss Yi Zhan, and from the Sunny Line Dance Group, Miss Dharma Sister Chen Yenru and Dr. Lin, good afternoon, everybody. How do you do? I would like to let everybody know that next Sunday, July 31st, would be the Homa of Samantabhadra Bodhisattva. As all of you know, so the 10 great vows of the Samantabhadra Bodhisattvas. And in most Mahayana Buddhists, they believe that Samantabhadra Bodhisattva is Vajrasattva. So next Sunday, we would have the Homa of Samantabhadra Bodhisattvas.
那么今天我们做的这个护摩呢，就是毗卢遮那佛。
So the Homa today is Vairocana Buddha, which is Vairocana Buddha, the great Santa Tathagata at the center. And we can say that he is the 13th ground Bodhisattva, 13 ground Buddha. And Bodhisattvas, there are 10 grounds of Bodhisattvahood. So the 10th ground is called the equal, the awaiting for awakening. Or we can also say it that it's the equal awakening on the 10th ground. So in modern language, it would be called the backup Buddha, so or standby Buddha. So you are waiting to become a Buddha. So like in taking an exams, you are standby. So when the time is has come, then you would become a Buddha. And the 10th is the awaiting for awakening ground, and the 11th ground is the marvelous awakening, and that would be considered Buddhahood. And Vairocana Buddha is the Buddha of the 13th ground. And generally speaking, in the Japanese Tantrayana, there are the Vajradhatu and Dharmadhatu. And the main deity is Vairocana Buddha. So the Vajradhatu mandala and the Garbhadhatu mandala, in these two mandalas, the main deity is Vairocana Buddha. And the highest Buddha is Samantabhadra, or the Samantabhadra Tathagata, and that is the Adi Buddha. And that would be the Dharmakaya. The 13th ground is a Dharmakaya. Adi Buddha is of the 16th ground. So other than Adi Buddha, Vairocana would be first under the Adi Buddha. So the mantra. So Om Beja Tatu Fan, Beja Tatu Fan, and Beja Tatu Hang are all the same. So we say Om means the universe, Beja is the one endowed most with wisdom, and Datu is number one, and Fan meaning Vairocana. So the number one Vairocana. That's the translation of the mantra. Om Beja Tatu Fan. The wisest, the number one Vairocana Tathagata. That's the meaning of the mantra. So if you heard Datu in Sanskrit or Indonesian, do you know what Datu means? What do you think Datu means? Anyone from Indonesia here?
有一年就大都讲大都是就是第一，第一
Datu
名了。
means number one.
大都是什么
What is Datu?
？Number one 就是 Number one 的第一名的佛。
The number one Buddha.
那么什么叫做金刚界、胎场界？
So what is the Vajradhatu and
金刚界就
Garbhadhatu?
是已经
The Vajradhatu or the diamond realm is that you have attained Buddhahood. So that's the fruit or the
金刚界是
fruition.
果位，胎场界是因为
And the
因为
Garbhadhatu
因
or
就是你要
the
在
womb
修
realm
行的过程当
is
中
the
一个因，胎场界是因。
cause.
那么金
So
刚界
the
就
cause
是果。
in the journey of the spiritual cultivation, and the
那么
Vajradhatu
所谓
is the
的
fruit.
这个理方面，胎场界又称为理方面，
The
金刚界称
Vajradhatu
为
is
智方
considered
面，智慧的智，
in
智方
is
面。
considered the theory,
两边
and
是一样，
Garbhadhatu is
但是一
considered
个
the
是
wisdom.
因
They
位，
are all the
一个是
same.
果位。
One
一个
is
是
from
因
the
位，一个是
aspect
果位。
of the cause, and the other
对，
one
意
is
思
from
就
the
是这样。
aspect of the
好，
fruit. So
大陆
that's
如
the
来
meaning.
三地的佛，
So
那么今天我们做
Mahavairocana
这个
is the
父母
Buddha
非
of the
常的圆
13th
满
ground.
啊，非常
And the
的好。
Homa today was very wonderful, was excellent, perfect.
我发觉第一次是在护摩炉上面
At
放了这
first,
个习真怀书，
when I
四
put
个
in
4个都放在上面，
on top of the Homa fire. It includes the purification, enhancement, subjugation, and magnetization. They are all perfect.
今天这个主体
So the primary supplicant for Vairocana
可以这样
today,
子讲，你就是第一名了。
we can say that you're number one.
以后遇到这个大都啊，
That in the
你们都要
future,
主起第一名
when
的
there's
你都要主起
anything with that too, which means number one, you want to become the
那么将
primary
来
supplicant.
你们如果在转
Otherwise,
世或者现
if
在在
you're
做学生
being
考试
reborn
都不能
again,
得第一名。
or
你没有主起的话，你就
in
排第
your
二吧，
tests
排
and
第三吧，
exams, then you would
或者
not
等待吧。
be first. Then you would be second or
有
third
一个好像有一
or
个笑话是
back
这样
up
的，这个
waiting. There's a joke like
有一个
this.
同学问小明，
A
说
student
为
asked
什么
Xiao
我们
Ming,
的家长啊，
why
都是老是看我们的分数，
do our parents
这个
always
考卷拿回家，他们都是或者成绩单拿回家，他
care
们都是
for
看
our
分数。
scores? Like
没有
when
看
we
别的，
bring
就是看
the
分数。
report cards, all they look
小明
at
回答，
are the
因
scores.
为
And
家
Xiao
长
Ming
根本不
replied,
明白我们的题目，他们也不会答。
because they don't understand about
这个回答
the
的
test questions
意思就
nor
是
and
讲
they
说
don't know how
你
to answer
将
them.
来你要考100
So
分，
what it meant is, in order to get a score of 100,
中央譬如遮那佛你不会主起，那你主起的就是
and
第2名、第3
yet
名，
you
甚至
don't become
最后
primary
1名。
supplicant for Vairocana Buddha, and instead you become
Yeah.
primary supplicants for
不管怎么样子，
the number 2 or
有
number
主
3
持
or
就
the
有加
last in line.
加持比较大。
So if you are the primary supplicant, and then you would receive greater blessings. If you are
但
just
是
the
主起的好像
registrants,
比较大一点。
then you would receive blessings too, but it would be greater blessings for the
下个
primary
礼拜天是
supplicants.
普贤菩萨，
So next Sunday would be
那
Samantabhadra
大日如来呢
Bodhisattva,
他的形象啊，
and the great
这
Santathagata.
个大家注意啊，他的这个
Please
手
pay
印是
attention.
五之印，就是
This mudra
五之印
is called
结合
the
起来
wisdom fist mudra.
啊，5个智慧，全部
So
都
the
有，
mudra of the
五智
five
就
wisdom.
是五智印。
So this is the five wisdom
那
mudra.
么他
The
身
five
呢，
wisdom mudra.
身体的那个形象，大家看到大日如来
And
的
as
形
you
象，
have seen,
那个图案都有大日如来的形象。
as you have seen in the
那么它的
picture,
咒
that's
语
the look of Vairocana
在
Tathagata.
金刚界的信
And
众
the mantra in the
Om
Vajradhatu
别扎达都换，那么阿尔拉吽看啊，阿尔拉吽看是什么呢？
and A'Lahom Khan.
这个
What is
五佛
that?
五佛的种子日，
That's
五
the
佛
six
的
syllables
种
of
子日
the
可以讲
five
是五佛的种
Buddhas.
子日。
We can
那
say
综合起来
that they are
就
the
是大日
five
如来。
six syllables of the five Buddhas, and combined together, that would belong to Vairocana.
“那今天呢，再跟大家这个谈这个
Now we will continue.
这个下个礼拜以后8。
We'll
雷
go
上
to
是会举办
LA
这个，
and Iru Temple there
也就是放
will
灵感
organize
水
a Mahottara water offering
Baba.
ceremony.
也是这一尊也是很了不起的，
And Mahottara
很了不
Heruka
起
is
的金
also
刚，很少人做，
very
很少人做刀法。
and it is very rarely performed by other people. Typically, they do Hevajra, Chakrasamvara, Guya Samaya, Yamantaka, and Mahotara. And they are considered the 5 Herukas, or the 5 Heruka Dharma. And some people replace Mahotara Heruka with Kalachakra. So the 5 Heruka Tantra of that Mahotara is rarely performed, because Mahotara Heruka is an emanation of the primordial Buddha. He is truly great. Mahotara Heruka was performed in Taiwan before. It's rare to perform Mahotara in the West. And why is this time we will perform it in Los Angeles? Because the Dharma Brother Mu from Iru Temple in Los Angeles attended the Mahotara Heruka ceremony in Taiwan. And coming back, he performed Mahotara Homa frequently. In order to complete his Mahotara Homa, I especially performed the Mahotara water offering ceremony there. Generally, we will not perform Mahotara ceremonies as we like. So he performed Mahotara Homa every day after he visited the Mahotara ceremony in Taiwan. So we went there to help him so that his Mahotara practice would be perfect. So I hope that you would attend, because this Heruka is a great Heruka, Mahotara, one of the 5 Herukas. Now we will continue on Lamdre. Now we are on page 24. It talks about versions, because there are many versions of Lamdre. So this talks about the different versions. The version of the Lamdre Dharma teaching collection that is now circulating is the one printed by the Sakya School of India. It has a total of 31 volumes. So volume, what does it mean? They use different terms. We would say one book. So a total of 31 books, or 31 divisions or volumes. However, long ago, at the De Sutra Printing Institution in Sichuan, so underneath Tibet or south of Tibet is Sichuan province of China. In an area called De, a Tibetan region, there was a huge sutra printing institution that typically print Tibetan books or Chinese translation of Tibetan books were printed there at De. They had the woodblock print template of a version comprised of 17 volumes. So in India, 31 volumes, and in De, 17 volumes. Therefore, there is a difference between the older and the newer versions.
函
So
跟这个旧版的记函啊，就是
So
不
a
一
certain
样。
volume in the older version and certain volumes in the newer versions.
当世的
And
萨
in
迦教
fact,
主达钦仁波切
the
早年所
current
接受的道果教法，
Dharma
则
King
是
of the
德格的
Sakyapa,
17函。
Dakjen
德
Rinpoche,
格的
received his Lamdre in his earlier years.
这个17函，
What he received was the 17-volume version from Turkey.
也有
And
很多的
Sichuan
这个
was
藏
close to
人住在
Tibet.
这个
And
在四
there are
川
many
住在
Tibetans
四
who
川。
live in
像
Sichuan.
你们去那个九寨沟，
So if you
四川
visit
最有名的
九寨沟
沟，
the
那里
famous
住了
九寨
很多
沟
的这
in
个也有藏
Sichuan,
人的区啊，
there
西藏
are
人住的地方，
Tibetan regions there
就是在九寨沟都有。
where the Tibetans live.
那么现在呢，是达钦萨
So
迦教的
now
教主达钦
Dakjen
仁波切，
Rinpoche,
就
the
是我们
patriarch
昨
of
天
the
讲
Sakya
的
school,
他的寺
the
庙
one
就
that we
在
talked
西亚
about
巴
last
拉
night, his
西亚巴
temple
拉
is in Ballard, Seattle.
他是写的是德格的17函，就是
So
17个
he
脚本
learned
啊，17
the
个脚本。
17
这17函的内容大致上
books
是包
version
含
from
着
Turkey.
新版的
And the content of the 17-volume
也就是这
version
17
was generally included in the
17函
newer
呢
version
包含了31
that
函，
comprised of 31
其
volumes,
位置约于第1函啊，
from
到
the
第
first to
20 函
about the 20th
也就是
volume.
第1个小册子到第20个册子，第20
So,
个册
or
子
from the
都
first
属于是
booklet
新版。
to the 20th booklet
至于2则相距达
of the
14
new
函
version.
之谱，大概可以分3方面来讲。
And the differences were about 14
就是讲这
volumes
个道果这一本书
and can
还有
be
新版
classified
跟
into
旧
3
版
aspects.
啊，在
So
印度
talking
的
about
是
the Lamdre
31
book, the old and new
31
versions.
旧版
The
啊，
Indian
这个新
one
版的是
has
17
31
跟31
volumes
是有差别
and the old version has 17
他说旧
volumes.
版中之页码是
And there
以
are
藏
differences
页
between
式
them.
排列。一
The old
也就是每一
version
张
was
藏
paginated
为
according
一
to
藏
the
页，
Tibetan
而
pagination,
新版的则是一
where
张
one
藏页
Tibetan
分为
sheet
两
was equal to
两
one
页排
page,
序。
whereas in the new
这就
version
是
it
可
was
以讲
divided
是
into
那
two
个
pages.
经典上印的字比较大，
So
字比较大的，或字
like
比较
the
小的。
sutra with a
2页
bigger
变成1
print
页
or smaller
主要
print,
是2页把它变
So
成1页。
two
这个书
pages
啊，有时候
to become
你
one
印的字
page.
体大一点，
So sometimes
我
when
看
we
过一
print
本
a
书
book
啊，
with
书是
major
很厚，
print,
但是字体很大，那么看起
you
来
know,
呢
I
哇，
saw a
厚厚的一
thick
大本，
book,
那翻起
but
来呢
with
里面没有几
large
个字，
print.
因
So
为字都很大，
although it
啊
looked
字体
thick,
都很大。
but
那师尊
there
出版
weren't
的
that
书
many
字体都
words
比较小，
because each of the
但
letters
是我
are
现在
huge.
越写就越精简。
So
以
Grandmaster's
前我
book
在
are
写，
rather
有时
small
候在写书
because
的时候，
nowadays
就
my
是很
book
杂
are
杂的，
very
什么东西都
concise,
放进去。
very brief and
现
concise.
在不一样，
And
现在
in the
把它分类
beginning,
啊
it
把它
was
分类
more
写得很简单，
combination of
但是让
everything.
人家能够清楚
But
明白，
now
这是
it's
最重要的。
classified and very simple and yet easy to understand. And
我现
that's
在
most important
有
to
时
make
候
people
啊，
understand.
在写书啊，前面
These
写
days,
的
sometimes
是散
in
文，
writing my
后面
book,
再加上一首诗，
that
但是
the
这首
beginning
诗呢
part
就是
is
这一
like a
篇散文
prose,
的精华。
and then at the end there would
那
be
诗的句
a
子很短，
poem or
但是有
verse,
押韵啊，
which is the
我也
essence
学会了
of the
押韵，
article.
学会那个押
So
韵。
although the
那
poem is
诗
short,
念
but
起来
it
都可以朗
rhymes.
诵。
So
变成
you
朗
can
诵诗
chant the
朗诵
poem, you can
可以
recite
朗
the
诵
poem.
那种诗体，因为
That
现
kind
在
of
的诗
poem.
人呢，
Because the modern
这
poets
个很难讲。
are hard
这
to
个诗人有
say.
时候写出来的诗哦，你看不懂，
Sometimes the poems that they
就像
write
画一样。
are not understandable, like the
诗尊的画
paintings.
你大部分都可以看得懂，
you can understand
为什么？
most of
因为我有一个
Grandmaster's
主题，
paintings because it
我有一个
has
意
a
象，
topic.
我的脑海里面在想什么，
I have
那个画里面就出现什么。
it is an
并不抽
expression
象，
of my thought,
并不是很抽象。
and the paintings are not
现代的
abstract.
画家，
But the
像
modern
连妙大师，
painters, like Master
他的
Lian
画
Miao,
还有2幅画来挂在这个桃园机场
Master Lian Miao's
上方啊。
has
2
2
幅画
paintings hang on
我
the
自己站
Taoyuan
在这个画的
International
面前
Airport,
看了半天，
and I stood in front of the painting for a long time. I still could not
连妙
understand
大
it.
师的这个抽象画很厉害，
It's Master Lian Miao's abstract
我看
paintings
颜色
that I cannot understand.
怎么骂一大堆。
And the colors are mostly
他最
black.
近听说有改有改。
And I heard
我说
she has
你画
changed
红的
recently.
颜色比较
And I
鲜艳，
said it would be
那么
brighter if you
让人家的感觉有
paint
层
with
次
red. And these
他有一次
dimensions.
画出来，他说画了，他说用泼墨，墨水
It would
往那个画纸上哇一泼，
And she said
就像
that
他
when
的
she
心
paint,
泼在这
she
个
just
画纸上
pour
这
the
样。
ink or the paints on the piece
它
of
泼出
paper
来像什么
like
就
she's
是什么
pouring her heart out.
它不像什
And
么就
whatever
不像
it becomes, it
那我
is.
们不知道
If it
他
if it
当
doesn't
初
look like
当初的时候泼这个是
that,
什么
then
意思？
it's
所以我们始终看不懂
not。that.
但是他的画比
So
较
we
贵，
couldn't understand
为什么比较贵呢？因为看不懂。
what the paint is about. But her paintings are more
看不
expensive
懂它就比
because
较贵啊。
they are not understood.
以前在讲诗人也是这样子的，
Because
诗人
people
写
don't
诗哦
understand it, that's why it's more
写的
expensive.
都是人家看
The
得懂，
same
至
with
少
the
它有它的
poem,
味道在。
with the poems. So the poems that Grandmaster write have a certain
但有些人
meaning
写
and
诗的，
expressions.
到最后这个诗
So
人啊
it's
在批评
understandable,
那
but
些新潮流的这些诗，
some people
怎么样的？
criticize
好
the
像印刷
modern
厂那个
poems
签字，以前古代的印刷厂是用签字
because
啊，签字
like
是
the
一个签字一个签
ancient
字去排起来
printing company,
田啊
they
哈
use
田鸡哈，那个字
different characters
一大堆的日，
and
它
they
都是
arranged it.
小字的那个千块，一个
It's like a
千块
block
然后
of
去把它
each
绑起来，用
character,
绑成一个
and
模
then they arrange
然后
them
再给它
together,
印刷
and then
过
they
就
tie
变成
them together
变成
to
书。
become a template,
那
and then
可以
you
改
print on it.
改的时候抽起来再换另
And
外
then
一个
if you
字
want to change, then you take the
以
wood
前的
block
写新诗
and
坏到
replace
什
it
么
with
程
another
度
one.
就像印刷厂的那个版那个字啊，那些字全部
So
掉下来，
the modern
掉下来
poems
以后
are
呢，再
like
剪几个上来，
like
就成为
the
一首诗。
wood blocks from that printing company all
啊，你也看不懂它的
falling to the ground, and you
配
pick a few characters and then place it there. That's it. So it was
现在的
just
抽象画家一样，
arranged haphazardly with no specific meanings.
就是
It's like the
或
abstract
者一张
paintings.
画
You
纸
just
放在
pour
地
the
面上
ink. That's
比如
it.
说摩托车用上印色，
Or
就
a
压过去，
piece of
然后再骑脚踏车再
a
给它
paper,
压过去，
and then
然后在汽
you
车再
put
给它
maybe
压
some
过去。
paint on the wheel
就
of a
成为一幅画。
motorcycle, and then you drive over it, or you ride over it, or and then you
慢
drive a
慢
car
到了
over it,
几
and
这
that
个
become
胎
painting.
胎啊，巴豆啊，那胎。
And the
胎儿
title of that
那
painting
是车
is
胎嘛英文
tire,
叫胎，你也搞不懂是什么胎。
but
它
in
反正
Chinese
就是车胎
also
啊。那
also
你看了
mean
半天，
womb.
哎，这
What
好
kind
像
of
什么东西
womb, which sounds like tire? You don't know what they are.
画家是有这样子，
So there's some
那个
painters like
一个
that.
男的、女的，
A
在一
man
张
and
画
a
纸上
woman
面，男的穿
on
鞋子，女的穿高跟鞋，
on
那么都去沾上墨水，
a
他
painting
两个就
sheet,
在这个画纸上
and they
面跳探罗。
and
转来转去
the
啊，转来
man's
转去
wearing
跳
their
探罗出
shoes
来，
and the
哎，
woman's
一幅画完
wearing
成。
the
那它叫什
high
么？
heels,
两
and
人。
then put the dip the shoes in ink, and then they
为什么
dance
两个人？
tango on top
确
of
实是
the
两个
paper,
人跳探罗，
and it was titled
那
Two
就是高跟鞋跟皮
persons
鞋 沾上了颜色，在上面踩。
So they step on the paint and then they step on the paper, dancing the
画的名
tango.
称叫两人。那你
So
就
it was
有些
titled
人
Two
看了就看不
Persons.
懂，看不懂的
And
都
then
会
some
得诺贝尔
people
奖。
couldn't understand it.
像我
But the
师
one
尊
that's
写
not
书啊
understood
或怎么样啦，不
would
管写
win
书
the
画画
Nobel
啦，
Prize.
大家大部分都看得懂。
But for
我这个画里面
Grandmaster,
的意思，
most people
虽然
would
有些也有一
understand
点抽象，
my books, my
不是意
paintings,
象，
or my
但
poems.
是至少
Although
让人家看得
some
懂。但
has
是
a
这
little
种
bit
画
of
或者我写的
expressionistic,
书
but still
那不可能
understood.
得诺贝尔奖。
That's why my
没办法。
books or my
你
paintings
看过那
would
个
never win a
中国大陆
Nobel
得诺贝尔
Prize.
奖文学奖的
You
那一
know,
位画家
the
那一位作家
mainland
嘛，他
Chinese
写的就是
author
灵山，
who won
这
the
本书叫灵山，
Nobel
叫什
Prize
么名字？
in
高
China.
行健，高行健。
His
高
name
行
is
健。
Gao Xingjian.
高行健写的《灵山》得到诺贝尔文学奖，
And his book titled
你
Ling
们看
San,
过没有？
like the Spirit
哪一个人看
Mountain.
过？
And he got a
高
Nobel
行健
Prize
的《
for
灵山》，
it.
哪一个人看过？啊？那世界名著哎，你有看过啊？
What?
啊？没有看过？
That's a
没有看完。
internationally
没有看完
renowned
你一定是看不懂。
book. Oh, I didn't finish the book.
告诉大家啊，
That must be because you couldn't understand it.
师尊看得懂。
But let me tell you, Grandmaster understood.
其实我也是看不懂。
Actually, I didn't understand it.
其实我也是看不懂，但是我有一个告诉大家一件事情，我这个人
But
很奇怪，
one thing, let me tell you,
反正看不懂的书，
I'm very
我一定拿
strange.
上飞机的时候我看这本书，
I would bring the book
看得
that
懂的
I don't
书。
understand on a
我在家里
flight
看
in
的。
an airplane.
看不懂的书，
But
我
the
会
books
拿
that I
上飞机
understand, I would read at
因
home.
为飞机
But
上
the
非
books
常
that
的
I
无聊，
can't
没有
understand,
人
I
跟
would
你
bring
讲
with
话
me
没有人跟你
on the
谈
plane
天说什么
because
事情，你就
flying
慢慢一个
is
字
a
一个字
really
这样子
boring.
研究。
It's really
哎，
boring,
终于
and
看懂了，
you
看得懂
have
看懂
lots of time with no one to talk to. So and
你
then
们
you
都不
read
看
it
的，
one by
不看
one,
了怎么
one
懂？
character by character, then
这
you
是
would
得诺
understand.
贝尔奖的哎，
So
灵山
how
两个
come
字，
you don't understand? So the
就是
meaning
天
of
人
Ling
交战。
San is like the soul mountain,
天人交战，
is the battle of
你
the
到底
human
要
and the
还是不
heavens.
要？
Do you
要
want it
跟
or
不
you
要之
don't?
间在那边打仗，
So the
天人
battle
交战。
between wanting or not wanting.
就像你捡到钱，我们那个
So
台
like
湾那个阿
when
伯
you
他不是捡到钱，他是寻宝。
find money, like
终于找到一
the
大堆的钱
grandpa of Taiwan,
他拿回家
he
不应该拿回家，他应该
went for a
捡到
treasure
钱就要
hunt
报案，
and
那
got
叫
lots of
拾金
money
不昧。
and he brought it
捡
home.
到钱你拿回家，
Actually, that's not right. He should have
然后
reported
在
it to
那
the
里
police.
天人交战。
But he
到
brought
底
it
要不要
home
报案？
and he
还
had
是
the
把它
battle
拿起来吃，
between
把
heaven
这些钱
and
拿起来
earth.
吃，到底要不要报案
Should
结果
I
经过
report
10几个
it
小时以后，
or should I just keep it to myself?
他终于
And
拿去报案
after
拿去报案。他说是
after
时间
over
之内
10 hours,
警察
he finally
警察机关
reported
或
it
者
to
法
the
官
police
认为
station.
这个叫做侵
And
占，
the
因为那是
judge
赃款
and
啊。
the
栽赃的
police
赃
decided
赃款
that
是赃款是赃款，那就是侵占。大家想一想，
so the
因为
wife
我
could
终于
not
有
sleep.
人把
Have
一起很悲
for
伤，
one because that's like over
找
tens
到
of
我
millions. truly virtuous.
发现呢？
But if you really
我就
battle,
对
oh
方
now
怎么
I
办
can
怎么
buy
办
this, buy this, buy this, and then but if we were found out, then we would have to be imprisoned like this and that and that and that. So that's what the Soul Mountain is about. It's
你如果
the
看得懂，抓到这一点，
detail
看你就看得懂。
right up about
那
the
是天
battles.
人交战，整
So
本书都
if
是
you
天人交
understand
战
this point, then you would understand this book.
就
So
是
the whole
神
book was about the
跟
battles
欲望
between
的
the
交
heaven
战，
and the earth, which is the battles of the gods
清
and
净
desires,
跟黑暗的交战，
between purity and the darkness,
神圣跟污秽的交战。
and the battles
灵上来
between
的，如果
holiness
高行健听
and
到我讲这种话，他
adulteration.
一定说哇，卢生燕
If
第一名，
this Chinese novelist or Nobel laureate Cao heard Grandmaster talk about his
今
book
天跟
this
你们
way,
讲版本的
he
问
would say, number one,
题，跟你们讲，这
firstly,
是有什么意思？
高
真的讲版本的问题有什么意思？
So talking about
大日
versions,
小日的分别嘛，新的旧的
what's so
分别
big deal
嘛
about
为什么
this?
提那么
It's
多
just
写那么
about
多字呢？
a different size of the letters and wrote so many
我要讲这个我也觉得很无聊
words about it. This is
讲那个
really
花轿的
meaningless.
那个来源呐，稻果的
If you
来
talk
源呐
about the
这些名
origin
称啊
of
还有我们在这里
Sakyapa or about Lamdre,
师尊在念
Oh,
这
about
这
the
些名字
names
当中也有念错的，因为
you know,
有
when
些
I
字我不懂。
read these different names, maybe I would read it wrongly because I don't understand these characters. I don't care. They're just names
你
of
懂得这
certain
个是
people.
人的名字
They
就好
just
了
represent
什么东西呀？
names.
哦，什么
As long as you know they're the names
啊
of people.
滚叶啊
It's
滚去的
kun, kun, kuntis or
藏
kunta.
人的名字很难念。
It's
你知道
really
藏人的
difficult
名字
to
又长又
pronounce
臭又
Tibetan
长
names. They're
像
long
老泰国的
and
跛脚
difficult.
布啊，对不对？又臭又长，你记那些名字干
And
什么？
they're long and
我们记得
ugly.
简单的啊，记简
So
单
we
的名
just,
字就好
what use do we remember those names? Just
而且
remember a few of
而
the
且大部
simple
分的名
ones.
字也跟地有关系。你看
And
日本
most
人的名
names
字
are
就是这样
related to the place. Look at
他
Japanese
在松
names.
底下出生的，
If
松
they
树
were
底下
born underneath the
就叫
pine,
松下，
then they would call the
对不对？
pine
这个
something
在
shita.
码头，在船的码头旁边出生的，就叫渡边，啊，就叫渡边啊。
And if they're born
啊
next to a
住在一个
pier,
水池上
you
面
know,
的
they
就
would
叫
be
池
called
上
next to the pier.
啊，都是日本人，也是有用地来做
Or
做
on top
名
of
字
the
啊。
lake,
用
then
地
they
的
would be called
他
over
养
lake,
乌龟的，啊，
you know,
就是
or
他养乌龟的，我去看过人家养乌龟的地方了，他哥哥叫做乌龟大郎。
or people that farm
乌龟大郎
turtles,
乌龟二郎
then the
乌龟
brother
三
would
郎
be the
三
turtle
郎
big brother, the turtle second brother, turtle third brother. So that's how they
啊
name
都
them.
是用地方的啊，
Use
大家晓得。
the name
像
of
那
the
个在
place.
田，你在种田的中央出生的，就叫田中，
And then if
就
you're
叫田
born
中。你看都是
in the
用地
middle
方
of
的
a field, then
当
you
时
would
什
be
么地方
called
的，就变成他的姓。那西藏的名字也是这样子，
Tanaka,
有很多是这样
and
子。
that's the same
如
as
果是
Tibetan
如
names.
果不是这样子的话哦，当然相同名字的也蛮多的，
And
相同名
then
字也是蛮多的。
on
就是
top of
指这
that,
样
there are
子
many with the similar or
版
same
本问
names.
题哦，
So they're talking about versions. Oh my gosh.
你直接就讲道果就好了，还要讲
Why
版
don't you
本
just
问题
talk
干什么呢？
about Lamdre
不
directly?
讲又不行，因为它就印在书的前面。
We have to talk about it because
就
it's
跟大家念一
printed
下吧。
in the beginning of the book.
第一个旧版本中的页码是以藏页的形式排列，藏页你晓得，
The older version was paginated
Pei Ye.
according to
贝
Tibetan
叶经啊，就是藏页，这
pagination.
样翻的。
So it's like the
这样
Tibetan
子翻的，就是
scroll,
贝
you
叶
know,
经我这
the
边也有，
The papilla.
在彩虹山庄很多的贝叶经都是这样子翻。
You know, here at the Rainbow Temple, we also have
很多
this.
佛佛来皈依师尊的时候他们也送这个贝叶经给我。我说你送那么大包干什么？
And there are also
这个是
many
经
other
典。
Rinpoches who took
里面
refuge
如
and
果
then
装
sent
钱
me
就好
this
了。
huge
他来皈依不是
huge
皈依
stack of
送你这个贝叶经
manuscripts of
皈依送贝叶
something
经
and
师尊有给好多的佛佛灌顶。
because you know, why do you give me such big things? You know, just some small valuable things good enough. And Grandmaster give empowerments to many Rinpoches from all the 4 different sects.
一个藏页，而新版则是每一
So
张藏页分为2
where
页排
one
列，这
Tibetan
种分页
scroll sheet was equal to 1 page, whereas in the new version
因为你
it
分
would
成2
be
页或分成
divided
1
into 2
变
pages,
成藏经，
and of course
有大
these
有
would
小
directly
一
affected
定的。
the
对不对
size
你
of
分的越
the
多页，
book.
这藏经就大一点；
Of course.
分的越小页，藏经就小一点。
If you divide it into smaller, then it would be smaller
例
book.
如新版中的
and vice
第9
versa.
函跟第10函，
For example,
前半为
the
旧
volume
版中
9
的
and the
第
first
8
half
函。
of volume 10 of
那
the
么
new
旧版
version
中
was
呢，
volume
道
8 of
果
the
根
old
本
version.
颂金刚记
And in the old version,
另列6函，
annotation to
也
the
就是
Vajra
说
verses of
这个
Lamdre
有
was
6
divided into 6
6个本
volumes,
子。换言之，
So
旧
like
版中
6
并无
books,
金刚记记
which
述的
means there were no
编辑
annotations to the
但
Vajra
是在
versions
新
in the
版
old
的纳
version,
入其中。
yet they were
例如，这是
included in the
所
new version.
翻译的
For example,
这个亮马道果子，在旧版中并不列入17函中，
the
而是在
Liangma
另一
Lamdre
篇
that
的
was
道果
included in this
6函中的
Chinese
第1
translation version was not in the
亮
old
马卷
version,
中所有。
but it was in the
当
6
然，这
volumes
道
of
果
Lamdre commentaries
诗书
as
6
the
函
Liangma
中
chapter
也有
of the
部
first
分会纳
volume.
入新版中。
However, there were also pieces from the 6 volumes of Lamdre commentaries that were included in the new version. And you'll just forget this after reading this, because this is meaningless. It just talks about versions.
没有什么意思。第3个部分，新版
And the
中
third
增补
aspect
了许
is
多旧
the
版
new
所
version
的
included the
祖师
history
史
and
传
commentaries
及
of
部
the
分
lineage
诗
gurus,
书。
which did not exist in the
诗
old
书
version.
所谓诗书，就是说给他解释。
So it's like
本来我
commentaries
觉
or
得像那
explanation.
个，我
So,
家中有圣乐金刚系，
so at
圣
home,
乐金刚
I
系
have the
跟那个秘籍
Sakra
密集金刚系
Chakra
密集金
Samvara
刚系
Sadhana
我有这2
Tantra
本系，
and Guya
在我的
Samaya
这个南山
Tantra
雅舍里面，
Sadhana.
我有密集金刚。
So
跟圣
2
乐
of
金刚
this, Guya
2
Samaya
本
and
系
Chakra
但是这个系
Savamara
都是5个
Tantra
字
at
或者
my
7
home
个
in the
字
Southern Mountain
这样
abode.
子而已，这样子成
So
为一本书。
they are comprised of like
那么
5
加上
characters or
诗
7
书呢
characters
所谓诗书就是给他解释，
that
解释这个句子，把它分裂，
to become
再
a
把它
book.
分裂分解，再给他解释，就
And
变成
then
了一本很大的书
the。commentaries,
所以你本
so
来的
you
金
take
刚记
the Tantra
金刚记就是短短
or
的，
and then you
短短
add
的
commentaries and
字
become huge
而
books.
含有
So
秘
the
密
Vajra
就是很
verses,
多的意思
the
在
original
里面
Vajra verses were
你
very
不一
short,
定从记上
concise,
可以看
but
出
it
它的
had a lot
必
of
须要有
meanings,
学过法
and
的人
you may not
能够给它
understand it
注
from
解
the
出来
surface.
这个
So
这
it
个是
needs
要
to
点
be elucidated by someone who had practiced it.
金刚持雅
That's the point
望
here.
共格雷贝九内也学兼
So
谈。
Vajradharaya
这句子好
Wangkongke
长
Lepe.
天哪！它叫做
This
它的
phrase is so
名字
long.
解释着与自在
His
性
name
善
is
缘会懂。都是人的名
was
字而已
included
它就很
in
长
the
你看那个像以前满清时候 或者是明朝永乐
in the
皇
自
帝
在清
给那些西
洗
藏人的
三
那个
元
印，
会床。
里面刻的，哇，都是西方大雷音寺，哇。
So the print
大
from the
佛
like
怎么样
emperor
子的
given
化
to the
身
Tibetan
它会
Lama,
带来
it's
什么
like
吉祥，怎么样子的，
it's like the
最后才
great,
弄一个
supreme,
弄
wonderful,
一个真正的名
and
字
the
出来，班禅
emanation
喇
of so and so Buddha, and
一个印这么
emanation
大，
so
好
and so
多
and
字
so
哦，
and so,
哇，它的
and
名
the
字念起
seal
来就
so
很
big
就
like
是这
this
个
with
样
a
子。
very long name, and then Panchen Lama.
你看，
So
上
that's how it
师
is.
吉祥善妙传，吉祥
And he
哀往
participated
心
in the
殿大康
biography
部。
of the Guru's auspicious and
天
marvelously
哪，这
virtues.
大堪布的名字叫雅
And
望
according
若
to the
觉
自在
贤
清洗三元会
贤
床
仪凌波，
and the
它的
biography of Sri Iwang
意思
Nor
就
Hall's
是与
great
自
Kampo
在会
Yawang
利
Lo
他
Jue
场
Shen
列
Yin.
传。这个名
According
字
to
都
the
很多人你不要记啊，
there's so
因为
many
你记了
different
一定
names that
会
please don't
会
remember
发
them,
狂。
because if you try to remember them you'll go
这个都
crazy.
不用记了，都不用
There's
记。
no need to remember
因此
this.
善知识知法五十
And the
颂
reliance
师等
on the Dharma
既
of
是旧
knowledgeable
版颂语。
spiritual
此外，
companions in
第
50
24行中的
stanzas.
吉祥喜金
All of
刚
the above
本
did not
系网，
exist in the old
第
version.
21行
In
中的
addition, Sri
明
Hevajra
灯
King
禅师
of
也
Tantra
只
in
是
volume
旧版
24
所缺
and the
的。
series of exposition on bright
这
light
里有
in
吉祥喜
20,
金刚本系网，
volume 21 also did
道
not
果
exist
里
in the
面
old
就包
version.
含了喜金刚，
So
算是一本
Lamdre includes the
喜金刚
Hevajra.
啊。
So
都在
Hevajra
道果
would be considered of
所以
one
我
book.
写喜金刚，就我是想
So
说，你喜金
Hevajra
刚
is
懂，
inside Lamdre.
你
So
道
that's
果
why
你
I
就会
wrote
知
about
道
Hevajra.
什么叫做道果。
If you comprehend Hevajra, then you would know
道
about
果里面
Lamdre,
包含喜金刚，
Lamdre, the
包
path
含
and
着
its
喜
fruit,
金刚的意涵
because Lamdre
意涵在里面。
also includes Hevajra
那以前我们
as
在
the
故宫
volume.
里面看到的是吉祥喜金刚，吉轮甘露前。
So the one that we saw in the National Palace Museum, the title of the book is that the Sri or the auspicious Hevajra's
第21行一
auspicious
系列的明灯的
ambrosia
解释，也是旧
spring.
版所没有的。哇，天哪！
Oh my God.
哦，这个讲不完的耶。
It's impossible to
好多啊，
finish all
我们
this,
讲
so
下好
many
了
of them. Let's just talk about jokes.
5岁的小明看
The
完
5-year-old
小
Xiao
明
Ming, after
妈，
watching
我
Lu
长
Dingji
大了要像韦小
and
宝，
told Mom, when I grow up, I want to become Wei
一
Xiaobao
个替我
that has
包饭
7 wives. One to cook for me, one
一
is to
个
play
替
with
我
me,
洗澡。
one is to bathe
这
me,
妈妈就笑了。那
and
晚上睡
Mom
觉
laughs.
不需要我陪了。
Then you don't need
小
to
明
sleep with
愣
me
了
at
一下
night
说
anymore.
不行，我还
And
是
Xiao
要
Ming
跟妈妈
stopped
睡。
and thought, no, I still
妈妈
want to
讲
sleep with
那
Mom.
你7个老婆跟谁睡？
Then how about your
小明
7
就讲
wives?
让
And
他
Xiao
们
Ming
去跟爸
replied,
爸睡吧。
Let them sleep with my dad.
啊，爸爸非常的激动，这
And
热泪
Dad was
盈眶啊。
truly moved.
这
And
好
his
孩子
eyes
啊，
glazed and
你真是
said,
太孝顺
Good
了。
boy. He's really good boy.
这是笑话。
You're
啊
very
这是笑话
filial.
讲
That's
笑
a
话多
joke.
好。
It's so good
讲这
to
个
talk about,
气死我了！
to tell a joke.
我版
This
本
is
问题还要讲那么多，
talk
直接
so much
切入到
about
问题上
versions.
就可以了，
Why
对不
don't you
对？
just
我们要
cut
听的是
right
道理，
into
不
Lamdre?
是你
Because
印
what we
刷的
want
怎么
to
样，
here
说
is
是哪
about
一个人
Lamdre.
编
It's
的，
not about
它
the
不干我们
printing
的
or the
事。
publication or who
不过有一
authored
件
it
很奇怪
or
的
who
事，
compiled it. But
显
one thing
教
is
的
very
经典，
interesting
印顺导师讲，
that the
显教的经典都没有
ancient
作
Dao
者，
Si said that the
只有
Mahayana
翻译的人。
sutras have no authors, only have
密
translators.
教的经典都有
But
作者，
Tantrayana sutras or tantric sutras have authors. So Yun Xin Daoshi said that Tantrayana is more believable. At least, tantric sutras have authors, and the authors would be responsible. But Mahayana sutras have no authors. So there was only one sutra of the Mahayana sutras that had authors, and it is called the True Buddha Sutra. The authentic sutra who bestow fortunes and remove hindrances. And the author of the sutra is Yan Lu, and I have to be responsible for it. There are no other Mahayana sutras that have authors, and they always started with, "Thus have I heard." And who is the I? And everybody said Ananda, that Ananda heard it. But if the sutra was fabricated, then Ananda had to be responsible, because Ananda was the one who heard it. So in Mahayana, there are many fake sutras or not authentic sutras. So sutras have authors and translators. So all Mahayana sutras, Mahayana Buddhist sutras, only have translator's name but no author's name. But they said that, oh, it was spoken by Sakyamuni Buddha and heard by Ananda. But that was many years ago. When was it said, and when were the sutras compiled? Many years afterward, even during the king of Asoka, and that's 1,000 years after Sakyamuni Buddha, and they kept writing it, "Thus have I heard." So the orders were not right. A frog wanted to know about its fortune, and it found a psychic, a fortune teller. And she told him that you will find a beautiful lady. And the frog was really happy. Will I get to know her at a party? No. It's in the biology class next semester. So in the biology lab, a beautiful girl would cut him up, and he would be dead. So the versions, talking about the versions of Lamdre, is like dissecting Lamdre. So what volume and what book and what it talks about. Let's not worry about that. There's a joke. The first son is bachelor's in economy, and the second is the master's in, and the third one is a PhD, and the fourth one is a thief. So the neighbor asked, "Why don't you kick them out of the house?" And the father said, because he's the one, the thief was the one that earned money, and the other sons have not even found jobs yet. So that's analysis is about explaining the different versions of Lamdre. And he said some of them is the structure, the division structure, and how Lamdre was taught, and how Lamdre was presented to the public
由沙迦
And then in the
无
Great
智地传
Tibetan
理大成就者
Tripitaka, it was
佛
mentioned
陀施利，二亲滚，就是滚蛋的滚，滚格双波，这是庆习法。又在讲这个派别。我们这里是在讲经济管理
and
博士
talking about the
小偷。
subsection again. And here we are talking about a bachelor, a master, a PhD, and a thief.
这个护士跟一个病人讲：“你的朋友
And the
写
nurse
安慰
told
信
the
给你了
patient,
没有？”
Does your
病人
friend
讲
send：“ you
我
a
没有力
letter
气看，
of
麻
comfort?”
烦你念
And
给
the
我听。
patient said, I have
病
no
人生
energy
病
to
很
read
重
the letter
那个护士问
because the
他：“你
patient
的
was
朋
really
友
sick, so
写
can
了
you
安慰
please
信
read
给
it to
你没
me?
有？”这个护士上，这个护士呢
And the
就
nurse
就讲了，这个信上怎么讲？说很抱歉，由于
read the
工作
letter.
非常的忙碌，
I'm sorry
无法
because I'm
前
so
往
busy
看
at
病。
work, I cannot
不
visit
过
you.
出殡的时候一定
in your
是拨
sick
空参
bed.
加，
But
这哪里是安
when
慰信？
you are at the funeral,
这不是安慰信。
then I would definitely make time to attend it. But at your funeral, I won't make time to attend it.
他提到内容概述到底，以后再跟大家讲吧，时间差不多了。
I will talk more
再讲一个
about
笑话吧。
the Lamdre next time. Let me just share another joke. Time is almost up.
哎呀，这个笑话也不是怎么好笑的。
But this joke is not so funny either.
昨天呢，妈妈带我去相了两个小姐，
Yesterday, Mom
一个
brought
是身
me
材一流，可惜
to
长相
meet two ladies. One
太
has
吃力了，
great figure,
还有呢，
but
她
her look
牙
is
齿是往上的
too
龅牙，
much,
还
and
有龅
her
牙，
teeth are
她只要
protruding.
一笑我就受不了。
And when she smiles,
看
I
来那
just
小
couldn't
姐身
stand
材
it.
很好，但是可惜是龅牙。
Her figure is really good, but
另外一个呢，
she
脸
has
蛋
protruding
绝对是一流，
and the other
绝
one
对
has
是一个女神级别。
first-rate
可惜
face,
身材
like a
像那个慧
goddess.
君一样，
but her body is like Hui Jun
像慧
Master.
君上师一样。她的
Master
脸蛋
慧君
非常的漂亮，
Her
但是
face
身材像慧
is
君
really
上师。
beautiful, but
或者
her
是像
figure
三
is
眼
like Master Hui Jun or like Master San Yan.
头圆，或者
Round
肚子
head,
圆，
round
屁股也
tummy,
圆，
and
这个
round
三眼，
buttocks.
真三眼了。是个可惜，是
Master
个肥
Zhen
妞。
San Yan.
回来之后，我一直想到底
So
选哪
coming
个
home,
才
I
是
kept
好？
thinking which
这可
one
是
would be
终身
best,
大事啊，绝对一
because this
点
is a matter of
不可以
life.
马虎。
I have to be
这个事
careful,
情呢、我连续好
conscientious
几
about
个
it.
晚上都没有睡着。
So because of this, I couldn't sleep for
有一
several
天呢、
nights.
他妈妈回来就跟他讲，
And one day,
买菜回
his
来跟他
mom
讲，
came
你
home
不要再想的啦，
and told
这两个
him,
小姐都没有看上你。
don't worry, because none of these ladies like you.
真的，我坦白跟大家讲，
So I
这个道果前
frankly, let
面
me
讲
tell
这
you
个版本的问题，
that
我
at
真的没有
the
看上他。
beginning of this Lamdre book talking
就是
about
啰里
different
啰里巴
versions,
嗦的在讲
I
这
really
些
don't
东西
care for it. It's
简
just
直
so
是
so verbose. I mean,
如果要讲的话，哈，
so wordy and
就要用跳的，不该讲的就不要讲，该讲的就讲。
so maybe we
这样
should
才对。
just skip
好
over
下
it.
回应该这样子。
So we'll
好吗？
just talk about the key points that should be talked about. Then in the future, it'll be like that.